On the last night of his visit, I caught his phone lighting up on the bathroom sink. 6 words on the screen. When are you gonna leave her? Case 1. The defendant, a boyfriend of years, fully supported financially and otherwise. The charge? Taking everything and giving her nothing back. And yeah, this one's real. Here's how they tell it. We met online as teenagers through a game, and somehow that turned into years of a real relationship. Long distance, a country apart, with a plan to finally close the gap and move in together. As I got older, I worked more and played less. He did the opposite. He never held a steady job, so I paid his rent from across the country for years because I loved him and figured that's what you do. Then one November, my own bills caught up with me, and I told him I couldn't cover his rent that month. He didn't take that well. He cried, said his parents would be terrible to live with, which I knew wasn't true. And once he'd calmed down, he spent the rest of that call being cold and short with me. I still tried to help. I reached out to his father, found him an easy, decent-paying warehouse job nearby. He refused it. Refused every other listing I found, too. Then he told me, with a straight face, that maybe I should work harder, get a second job. He'll want to remember saying that. I nearly ended it that night. I didn't. He eventually took a small retail job, started making a little money, and I kept spoiling him anyway, because I wanted us to feel okay again. Last month, we scraped together the money for him to fly out and stay with me for a few days. It was good, at first. He even took me out, for once, with his own paycheck. Then came that message on his phone, and once he was asleep that night, I went through his messages myself, just to be sure I wasn't imagining it. I wasn't. 6 months of it. He'd told her I was abusive. He'd sent her my private photos so she could pick me apart. I said nothing. I smiled the next morning, fed him, drove him to the airport, and said goodbye like everything was fine. He had no idea it was the last time. The second I got home, I opened up an old account we'd built together over the years, split evenly between us by agreement. I took my half. His half, I gave away to strangers, down to the last coin. Then I remembered I still had the login to his real account, the one he'd built for over a decade, the one he loved more than almost anything. I sold every single item in his account on the in-game marketplace. Every weapon, every piece of armor, everything, converted to currency, all of it. By the time I was done, I was holding a fortune worth thousands of real dollars. I spent it, nearly all of it, on gear and currency for my own account, on years of paid access for myself, and on a joke purchase that would leave him with literal garbage sitting in his bank where his fortune used to be. And then I did the one thing money can't undo. I trained a stat on his account that he had never touched, not once, in over a decade, because the entire value of that account depended on it staying untouched. There's no fixing that. Ever. For good measure, I tore down the elaborate home he'd spent years building inside the game. I logged in as him and told his friends exactly what he'd done. Then I renamed his account, something he'll spend weeks trying to live down. And there it is. He came home to nothing. He messaged me furious, then messaged me crying. I sent him one message back, ending things for good, and made it clear I knew exactly what he'd shared and exactly what that could cost him if he ever came near me again. Okay, that's the poster story. Stepping out of the narrator seat, here's where I land. One more thing before I rule. She later clarified something that makes this even worse for him. That account wasn't just years old, its wealth carried over from nearly a decade before that, on an earlier version of the same game. What she erased wasn't a few years of effort. It was most of his adult life spent building one thing. The top comment drew the parallel straight. Every hour he wasted was an hour of her money and her patience, and called the response fair. Another explained in detail why training that untouched stat mattered more than the money. It's the one thing in that account that can never be undone, no matter how much he earns back. A third said the quiet part out loud. Brutal, but earned. And added that she deserves better than partners who need to be financially carried. He's the one who did this to himself. He took years of support and gave back cheating, lies, and her own private photos handed to someone else. What it cost him isn't just a fortune. It's the one part of his old life that no amount of money will ever rebuild. The comments are right there with me on that. If there's a fair note of caution in the room, it's the one aimed at her, not him. Choose people who can stand on their own before you carry them. So tell me, have you ever found out exactly how someone really felt about you all at once and had to decide what to do with it? Tell me your story in the comments. Like the video if you agreed with how this one landed, and subscribe so you don't miss the next verdict. That's what keeps this courtroom open. Case 2. The company I used to work for sent my old store manager to fight me in court, in jeans, with no law degree, 3 separate times. Case: a major tech company that would rather burn a courtroom's patience than send an actual lawyer to a small claims case. I used to work retail for that same company, so when my laptop and phone both started glitching, I figured booking a repair would be simple. It wasn't. Every time I tried, the system stopped me cold. Before I could book anything, it wanted me to change my account password. Again. For maybe the 10th time in as many months. I could shop, stream, do everything else with that password. Just not get my devices fixed. This time, I said no. Instead of changing it, I filed a complaint with a consumer watchdog group. The company's answer came back as a form letter. Non-negotiable, for my own protection, no exceptions. When I pointed out that this flatly contradicted the customer-first values they train every new hire on, they sent back 4 words. This matter is closed. The watchdog group shut the file right after. So I did my homework. I pulled the extended repair plan I was paying for on both devices, line by line. Nowhere did it say they could hold my service hostage over a password. There was no clause for it. I filed a small claim suit for the full value of both devices. Remember that warranty? It's about to matter. On the court date, I showed up in a suit. The company sent someone in a t-shirt and jeans. The manager from the exact store I used to work at, a location noticeably farther out than the one a few blocks from the courthouse. My guess, somebody looked up my name, saw an old employee file, and assumed this was some workplace dispute. Nobody actually read the complaint. The judge heard my side in under a minute. A roadblock with no basis in the contract, standing between me and repairs I'd already paid for. Then she asked the manager the only question that mattered. Was he a lawyer? He wasn't. State law is specific. A company needs an executive, a registered agent, or a real attorney in that chair. But the manager, thinking on his feet, offered to just set up my repair appointment right there, on the spot. The judge called that reasonable. We picked a time. The case got held open 2 weeks, just in case it fell through. It didn't. Every issue on both devices got fixed, and a senior technician personally emailed me afterward to say he'd killed the password requirement on my account for good. Problem solved, except I was still out $60 for filing in the first place. So I went back for the follow-up hearing. Same manager, different judge, one blazing through a packed docket. I said the devices were fixed. I wasn't after replacement value anymore, just my filing fee. She asked him the same question. Still not a lawyer. Same rule applied. He argued the fee shouldn't land on his company anyway. Pressed for time, the judge asked if I wanted to avoid dragging everyone back here again. I said yes. Then you'll split it, she said. $30 to me and we all go home. My state's law says a winning party gets all their costs back, not half. So I reached out to the company's own legal contact, laid the law out, and offered an easy exit. Pay the other $30 or I appeal. And if I win, they owe $185 instead of $30. They wrote back that they'd only follow the court's actual order and mailed a check for $30. Keep an eye on that manager. He's about to show up again. So I appealed. This went all the way up to circuit court. No more shortcuts, no more casual afternoons. Same manager, a third time. This time he came armed. A letter from the company's chief legal counsel saying it was fine for him to represent them. That letter was about to blow up in his face. The circuit judge did not care whose signature was on it. He told the manager flatly that the company doesn't decide who argues cases in his courtroom. He needed a real attorney, full stop, and the case would have to be continued so they could find one. Then he turned to me and asked if I'd object to that continuance. I said yes, because this was the third time they'd been told the rule, and the third time they'd sent the same guy in jeans instead of a lawyer. The judge looked at the manager, gave him a sarcastic little shrug, and said, "Sorry." Judgment entered in my favor. $185. 30 days passed. No check. I called their legal contact again, still looking into their options, despite the window to appeal any higher already being closed. They forgot I used to work there. I still had an old pay record from my time on their payroll. One call to my bank told me exactly which bank had issued those checks. I skipped straight to garnishment. I already knew exactly where their money was sitting. The check cleared within days. Okay, that's the poster story. Stepping out of the narrator seat, here's where I land. Let's hear from the jury. The top comment called this the rare case where the trigger was petty, but the execution was genuinely pro. Another was simply floored by the sheer persistence. 3 courtrooms over a password? A more skeptical thread poked at a few of the details and wondered if the whole account holds up. I'll give that skepticism its due. Some of the specifics don't sit perfectly together, and I'm not in a position to fact-check every detail from the bench. But I rule on the account as told, and on those terms, the company is squarely in the wrong. They had a contract with no clause for what they did. They got called out on it twice by 2 different judges, and they still sent an employee with no authority to argue their case a third time in the state's highest local court. That cost them a lawyer they never hired, a judgment they tried to sit on, and finally, a bank account they didn't get a say in. The comments are right there with me. Court's adjourned. Karma's been served. So tell me, was garnishing their payroll account fair game after 2 judges and 30 ignored days? Or did this go one step too far? Defend your verdict in the comments. And that closes today's session. Tell me in the comments whether I got it right, and subscribe so the next verdict lands in your feed. Karma Court is adjourned.